Can we lower the music? Thank you. Larry Sonnebeck joins us with First Rule, Tech News, our favorite segment. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
All right, let's get right to it.
All right.
First of all, let's talk with this. BBC is
Sure.
making some.
So we've had lots of Amazon stories today. All these stories are tangentially related to Amazon. You got the Amazon Echo out there that's very popular. We've talked about it a lot here.
Yes.
Google Home as well. Well, BBC is taking advantage of this. And you remember the old Choose Your Own Adventure books back in the 80s and the 90s? They're making a digital version of this, BBC Theater plays, that are Choose Your Own Adventure plays for the Amazon Echo and Google Home. So you could be listening to the play, or your kid could, and then you could say, well, what happens now? And they give you some options, and you choose it, and then it tells you, that part of the play. It's an interactive play.
That's
really
cool.
Fascinating stuff. I think that could be a lot of fun for a lot of people.
There's also a story where they say that they can hack into your Alexa through a silent. Did you see that story?
I have. There's been a lot of stuff with DEF CON, which is a hackers conference recently, and people are really trying to manipulate these always-on devices, and that's what you want. You want these good hackers to try to be manipulating this stuff so that they can fix it.
Right, yeah.
And that's something you got to worry about.
So
with
they
always-on
would. It
devices.
was a deal where they would silently turn on your Alexa.
Yeah.
Through a pitch that you can't hear, like a dog whistle.
Like a dog whistle.
Yeah, and then it would hack into your Alexa and then steal your
Or
stuff.
just listen to you
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah, real
So,
stuff. All right,
great
now
stuff.
let's get to the self-driving car story. This is interesting.
So, again, with Amazon, they're always looking for people to deliver packages. And computer vision has been a thing that's been bad for a long time, where basically computers recognizing other cars, recognizing real-life objects. Well, the House is actually having to just passed a bill to the Senate to allow, I think, 100,000 autonomous vehicles on regular highways, so that these companies that are developing these cars that drive themselves, no driver at all, can actually start developing them here at a faster pace. Now, mind you, it's at the Senate, and who knows if it'll get through the Senate.
Right.
But
Explain to me why they're going to do this, even though these cars don't meet regular safety standards.
Well, there's been, for the past 5 or 6 years, big companies have been able to test, like Google and some of the major auto manufacturers, and there's been over multiple millions of miles driven on American roads already.
Right.
With driverless cars, with these large companies. It was just the small companies couldn't get the approval, get the regulation.
Right.
And so it really kind of stifled innovation to just Googles and your BMWs. And this is going to relax those.
So is this like a driverless car doesn't need seatbelts because there's not a driver in the car? Or is this like...
This is, I think, more just to allow it to intermingle with other cars on the road, which is kind of interesting.
All right. And
So-
what's the last one you got
This is the most
here?
interesting story of the day. Researchers at Stanford, again, were working on computer vision and computers being able to recognize real-life objects. And so what they did is they fed it from public social media profiles and dating profiles here in the United States. They fed it 130,000 images of men and 170,000 images of women, and they came across an interesting discovery.
This ought to be
The
good.
machine was actually able to determine a person's sexuality based on a photo, and do it with men 91% accuracy.
So they could tell that picture was a man 91% of the time.
No, they could
Their
determine if the man
sexuality.
was gay or straight.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was really what the fascinating thing was. So when given one photo, a single photo of a man, they were able to, the computer was able to determine 81% of the time what the sexuality preference of the man was.
Right.
If they were given 5 photos of the same man, they could do it 91% accurately every single time. It was a little bit harder with women, 71% accurate with one photo.
I know the feeling.
And 83% accurate after 5 photos, but that's still significantly better than humans.
That
Humans
is
on average can
amazing.
do it about 61% for men and about 54%
So you're
for
saying
women.
the gaydar of these computers are better than the human gaydar?
I'm saying that there might be, when you use the term gaydar, there
Yes.
might be actual scientific elements of, because the computer is not biased or
Right.
moral,
Yeah.
or anything, it's just reading
Right.
evidence. And so there might be something in body language and how pictures are taken, so it's not the end all be all, but it's interesting to
So
see
you-
what a computer can do.
So you can't hide from the camera.
Accuracy.
Well, I think, very, very soon you're going to have companies like Amazon that we've been talking about
Right.
all day. You walk into a mall and it just Minority Report says, hey, McGraw, here's what you like. Here's what's interesting to you. And custom tailors it.
You brought up a brilliant deduction that no one's talking about with Amazon. If you don't say it now, I'm going to steal it and claim it as my own later.
Well, you can, but basically what I was considering was, we're talking about Amazon moving here, having another headquarters here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
All great for the jobs it would create. But something that no one's thinking about is where there's a headquarters for a selling facility, they'd have to charge sales tax.
Yes.
For the entire state.
Yeah,
so basically...
So everything you buy from Amazon now is no sales tax.
Correct.
If we get it, you'll have to be charged sales tax.
Unless there's something in this bill, which I have not read, or this proposal
that
would
exempt
somehow exempt it, but I
Missourians
can't
from-
imagine that they would have the power to do that.
Interesting stuff.
So
Larry,
something to consider.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
You got it.
St. Louis Closet Company.